I bring you greetings from Oak Lawn United Methodist Church. They say thank you, but they're glad to share me with you, is what I'm trying to say there. Here we stand on the precipice of Christ's birth. If you listen closely enough, you can hear heaven straining at the seams. Angels are queuing up to be in a heavenly choir. There's probably some rushing around to get the lighting of the manger right. I don't know. But we are on the edge of our seat waiting for Christ's birth. But today I want to take us back about 9 months to a simple conversation with amazing significance for this day and the entire sweep of human history. A conversation between the angel Gabriel and a virgin, 14-year-old virgin named Mary. Because in this conversation, we see, as I said, several things that will shape the course of human events, and if we are listening and open to it, will shape the course of Cochrane Chapel in this coming year and hopefully in years to come. So I just want us to spend some time looking at the back and forth between the angel Gabriel and the Virgin Mary. If you will go with me for a few moments. We see initially something very interesting. In the opening verses of this little conversation, the angel greets Mary and says, essentially, you are favored, you are blessed of God, Mary. And I find what Mary does to be incredibly instructive for several reasons. Mary does not go, oh my, you're and I, and we are at the well, and what are you doing here, and holy mackerel. Mary takes a step back and ponders what this greeting means. And as I prepared to study this text this week, and as I moved through my study this week, I found very interesting the words Mary pondered. Because you see, I think we can find an interesting point of comparison between this greeting and this story and what happens a few verses earlier to Zechariah, the priest in the temple. Zechariah has a very similar interaction with the angel Gabriel, and Zechariah, his first reaction is, but I'm old. How is this going to happen? This can't be. And because of that, he is struck speechless. What is interesting there is, where was Zechariah in his interaction? Zechariah was in the temple. Zechariah was not just in the temple, Zechariah was in the Holy of Holies, where God lives. Of all people, Zechariah was at God's front door. I mean, God should have shown up to Zechariah in a bathrobe and said, dude, I'm cooking here, but you pulled me out of my daily routine, let's talk. But Zechariah wasn't expecting to hear from God. Didn't take the time to ponder the conversation or to think about the conversation. Contrast that with Mary, a virgin, probably at the well getting some water. But Mary takes a moment and says, okay, I wonder what this means. You're obviously an angel. You've obviously done this before. So what is my part to play? And she was at the well getting water, not a place where one expects to encounter God. How is that instructive for us? Mary took time to understand that that's what God doing what God does. Excuse me, let me get a sip of water. Sorry, I'm struggling, Joe. Can you help me? Pardon me? Sorry for the brief interruption. A chance to ponder for us all, perhaps. See, Mary knew that this is God doing what God does. This is God interacting with his people. God comes to us in interactions like this because of what God needs, not because of what we need. So my question to you, Cochrane Chapel, is, do you expect God to show up when you're in the holy place, or the grocery store, or the doctor's office? And when God does knock on your door, or meet you in the grocery line, or, lo and behold at church, are you ready? Do you take a moment and take a step back? Because Mary did. And look what happens in the next bit of conversation. The angel says, this is this is what the child will be. This child that you're about to give birth to will be great, will be King of Kings, will be the greatest cosmic event in history. And you see Mary go, but I'm 14. And there's a problem with that. I'm not married yet. I'm a virgin. You see the problem here, don't you? See, but I think it's interesting that Mary never questions the fact that she's talking to an angel, the fact that the angel is saying these things. If you'll pardon me saying, Mary's questions are profoundly the questions that we would have. They're profoundly mechanical, like just the process. And what does the angel say? The angel says, the Spirit of the Lord will overcome you. Some translations say overshadow you. And that brings me to my next point, my next precipice point for Cochrane Chapel. See, I think this passage particularly, this bit in this passage particularly brings us to some very difficult, potentially some very difficult questions, especially in this day and age when we have so much controversy around what has happened to women and power dynamics and all of the difficult questions that are being asked in our culture right now, because for several decades people have asked in biblical criticism, was this an act of aggression by God? And that question is profoundly troubling and unsettling, and it unsettles me, and I hope it unsettles you, because this story is somewhat unsettling. But if we look at what the angel means when the angel says, the Holy Spirit will come upon you, the presence of the Lord will overshadow you, the angel is connecting Mary back to Pentecost, back to Exodus, the Passover, back to when the Holy Spirit came upon the disciples at Pentecost. I should say the same sort of language is used there that we see again in Acts when the Holy Spirit falls on the disciples. And what is the common thread in all of those interactions, in the Passover, in the Pentecost event that we'll see later in Acts, and in this language? It is the fundamental transformative change that comes upon the people of God when they interact with the Holy Spirit. This is the angel saying, you will be changed. You will be made something new, something better, something different. You will be transformed through the Holy Spirit and this experience, and not just by becoming a mother, which is plenty transformative enough. My question to us, just like in the first point, when we encounter God, are we ready? Have you been counting on Advent? Have you been counting on the Christmas event to be a transformative event for you? Are you ready to experience the birth of Christ and be forever changed by it? God called Mary away from her identity as a 14-year-old child in Palestine and said, come and be Theotokos. Come and be the bearer of God. Come and be transformed. God is calling the United Methodist Church, and indeed the church globally, away from its safe, comfortable identity as a church and into an identity of being a transformative power for the world. That is the power, the impetus, the anticipation that is held in this discussion. And that is the power that's held for us. But finally, we move to the most important part of this interaction. You see, God had all of these cosmic plans lined up. God had all of this transformative energy and Holy Spirit transformative power ready and willing to go, But it doesn't make a difference in the world if Mary says, nope, I'm sorry. I've heard what you've had to sell. It's, Lord, it sounds great. I'll tell my friend down the street. Maybe Sally's interested. She's much better looking. Her family is more wealthy. I mean, the reach that you'll get through that family is amazing. They're well connected to Herod. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a public relations coup. But Mary didn't say that. See, this is to me what gives what makes this interaction not an act of aggression by God, but an act of willing cooperation between humanity and God's Holy Spirit. Mary said, here I am. I'm your servant. Let it be as you have said. She said yes. And in this day and age, when we have kind of encapsulated this one event as part of a larger celebration and as part of the Christmas season, in amongst the Charlie Brown Christmas special and the live drive-through nativities with all the farm animals and the pies and the cakes and Christmas lights up in October, which I'll never understand. But that's not the point of this sermon. We have taken away the power of Mary's yes. Because what this girl did was not just say yes to being the mother of God, not just say yes to this world-changing cosmic event. She said yes to disgrace. She said yes to being pregnant out of wedlock. She said yes to, in the immediate future, what I am sure was a very awkward conversation with Joseph. The Holy Spirit and I'm going to be the mother of God, and she forfeited her safety. Her life was at risk. And she said yes. So my question to you on this day before Christmas, Cochrane Chapel, is what is God asking you to say yes to in 2018? What is God asking you to be overcome in the Holy Spirit and participate in 2018? If the angel Gabriel were standing in front of you today and saying, come and participate with me in this world-changing, cosmos-shifting event, what would your answer be? Would it be a yes or a maybe later? Because I guarantee you, if Mary had said maybe later, God would have found another way to get it done, but it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful as a small child in a manger that changed the world. So I urge you, as we move into Christmas tomorrow and the season of the 12 days of Christmas in the coming weeks, ask God, what are you asking me to give birth to for you in this coming year? And be a people that say yes. Amen.